Sweden shouldn't be here. By every metric we were taught in economics class, this nation is the final boss of global stability. It's the birthplace of IKEA, Spotify, and the safest cars on the planet. This is a nation with more tech unicorns per capita than anywhere outside Silicon Valley. For decades, it was the Goldilocks economy. Not too capitalist, not too socialist, just perfect. But as we sit here in May 2026, the Swedish dream hasn't just cracked. It's being repossessed. The krona has hit a level against the euro that would make a developing nation blush. Military units are no longer just assisting police in the suburbs. They are a permanent fixture of the urban landscape. And the most terrifying part? The very welfare state designed to protect the Swedish people, the world-famous folkhemmet, is now acting as the primary bank account for the continent's most sophisticated criminal syndicates. Now, how does a country with a 400-year history of peace and a trillion-dollar sovereign mindset end up in a debt spiral that threatens the very fabric of the Nordic model? Of course, the answer isn't just immigration or inflation. Those are just the symptoms. The disease is a mathematical trap 20 years in the making. In this video, we aren't just looking at headlines. We are looking at the mechanics of a collapse. We are diving into the variable rate debt trap, the rise of the mafia state within the welfare system, and the day the music finally stopped for the world's most perfect economy. Because, mate, if Sweden can fall into this hole, your economy is likely already standing on the edge. Today, we perform the autopsy on the Swedish dream. And trust me, the results are nothing like what you've been told. The why quest, the variable debt trap. To solve this mystery, we have to look at the one thing Swedes hate talking about: their own bank accounts. You see, for 20 years, Sweden played a dangerous game with the concept of value. While the rest of the world looked at Stockholm and saw a social democratic utopia, the reality was a hyper-capitalist housing market fueled by the cheapest debt in human history. Between 2015 and 2022, the Swedish Riksbank did something radical. They kept interest rates at zero, or even negative. Think about that. For years, the central bank was essentially paying you to borrow money. If you were a Swedish citizen, you'd have been a fool not to take a massive mortgage and buy a stylish apartment in Sturmal. But here is the twist, and it's the but that broke the country. Unlike the Americans with their 30-year fixed-rate mortgages or the British with their 5-year fixes, the Swedes are addicted to variable rates. Over 60% of the entire nation's mortgage debt is tied to short-term rates that reset every 3 months. When inflation arrived in 2024 and 2025, the Riksbank was backed into a corner. If they didn't raise rates, the krona would collapse. If they did raise rates, they would instantly bankrupt their own middle class. They chose to save the currency, but in doing so, they destroyed the consumer. By 2026, the average Swedish family is spending 40% of their take-home pay just on interest. Not the house, mind you, just the interest. This has created a negative wealth effect unlike anything we've seen in Europe. When people feel poor, they stop spending. When they stop spending, businesses die. And when businesses die, the tax revenue that funds that legendary welfare state starts to evaporate. Now you might ask, why didn't they just fix their rates? Of course, the answer is high trust. Swedes trusted their central bank to keep rates low forever. They trusted the system. And in 2026, that trust is the most expensive thing they've ever owned. However, the housing crash was just the trigger. The real explosion was happening in the suburbs, where a different kind of economy was being built. An economy that doesn't care about interest rates because its primary export is violence and fraud. The historical parallel, the ghost of 1992. To understand why the 2026 collapse feels so terminal, We have to travel back to 1992. Back then, Sweden faced a banking crisis so severe that the government had to nationalize the lenders just to keep the lights on. They learned a very specific lesson from that era: balance the books at all costs. For 30 years, Sweden became the model of fiscal discipline. They kept debt low, they saved for a rainy day, and they became one of the few countries in the world with a credit rating. But they were fighting the last war. While they focused on balancing the fiscal budget, they completely ignored the social budget. In the 1990s, Sweden was 90% homogeneous. Integration wasn't an economic variable because everyone already shared the same language, the same work ethic, and the same cultural trust. Fast forward to the 2015 migrant crisis and the decade that followed. Sweden, driven by its humanitarian superpower identity, took in more refugees per capita than any other Western nation. The logic was simple: we are rich, we have space, and we will turn these new arrivals into the taxpayers of tomorrow. But they made a catastrophic economic error. They assumed the Swedish machine, the schools, the jobs, the social services, could process 160,000 people a year into high-skilled workers. Instead, they created economic islands. By 2026, the data from the IMF is staggering. The unemployment rate for native-born Swedes is around 4%. For those born outside Europe, it's over 25%. This isn't just a social problem, mate. It's a mathematical impossibility. You cannot maintain a 50% tax rate to fund a welfare state if a massive chunk of your population is permanently excluded from the labor market. What happens when you have a generation of young men who are Swedish on paper, but have zero path into the legitimate economy? They don't just disappear, they build their own economy. And in 2026, that shadow GDP has become large enough to challenge the state itself. However, to see how that shadow economy actually functions, we have to look at the Noodle Index. The human element, the KTT Buller Index. Let's bring this down to the street level. We talk about macro data and interest rates, but what does 2026 actually feel like for a person on the ground in Malm or Gothenburg? We need to look at the Kitbuller Index, the meatball test. In 2021, a standard lunch plate in a Stockholm business district, meatballs, mash, lingonberries, would set you back 110 krona. That was about $12. Today, in 2026, because of the currency collapse and the massive increase in import costs, that same plate is 220 krona. The price hasn't just gone up, it has doubled. But the wages, they've stayed flat. This is the silent squeeze. For the first time in 3 generations, Swedish parents are telling their children that they might not live as well as they did. That is a psychological earthquake for a nation that defined itself by lagom, the idea that there is just enough for everyone. But it's even worse in the vulnerable zones. In these suburbs, the price of basic staples, flour, oil, and rice has skyrocketed because the krona is so weak. This creates a vacuum. Imagine you're a 17-year-old in a suburb like Rinkeby. You see your parents struggling to pay for basic groceries because the system is failing them. Then you see a local capo from one of the gangs, a guy who drives a Mercedes-Benz and wears a $20,000 watch. He offers you 5,000 krona, 2 weeks' worth of groceries, just to deliver a package or keep watch for 2 hours. The choice isn't moral anymore. It's purely economic. The Swedish state is now in a direct wage war with organized crime. And right now, the gangs are offering a better ROI than the legitimate labor market. This is the human capital failure that no central bank can fix with a rate hike. But wait, it gets crazier. The gangs aren't just taking the people, they are taking the government's own money, the mafia budget. the parasite within. Now, this is the part of the script that sounds like a thriller, but in 2026, it's a matter of public record. We used to think of gangs as people selling drugs on street corners. In Sweden, they've evolved. They've realized that the most profitable thing you can do isn't selling cocaine, it's selling welfare services to the government. This is the shadow welfare state. Criminal organizations in Sweden have spent the last 5 years setting up legitimate-looking businesses, private healthcare clinics, home care companies for the elderly, and even preschools. Because the Swedish system is built on high trust, the government pays these companies based on the number of patients or students they claim to have. The audits from 2026 are horrifying. We are seeing ghost patients on an industrial scale. Gangs are billing the Swedish municipalities for thousands of people who don't exist, or people who moved back to their home countries years ago. They are using the government's own tax revenue to fund their arms deals and their expansion into the rest of Europe. The National Audit Office estimates that up to 10% of the entire municipal welfare budget is now leaking into organized crime. Think about the irony, mate. The Swedish taxpayer is working 40 hours a week, paying 50% in tax to fund a healthcare system that is literally being used to buy the grenades that are exploding in their own neighborhoods. It's a parasitic economy. The mafia isn't trying to destroy the welfare state. They want it to stay healthy so they can keep milking it. But the parasite has become so large that the host is starting to die. Of course, the 2026 government is trying to fight back. They've introduced digital identity requirements and biometric checks, but the gangs are faster. They are using AI-generated deepfakes to bypass high-trust digital checks. It is a tech war for the soul of the economy. The verdict, the death of the middle way. So, where does this leave us at the end of 2026? Sweden is currently a laboratory for a terrifying experiment. Can a high-tax, high-trust society survive in a low-trust, high-debt world? The middle way that made Sweden the envy of the world is dead. In its place, a two-tier state is emerging. On one side, you have the high-wall economy, the tech elites, the Volvo engineers, and the wealthy urbanites who are retreating into gated communities and private security. On the other side, you have the shadow zones, areas where the state has effectively lost its monopoly on violence and where the economy is run on cash and fear. The 2026 pivot is brutal. The government has begun the great decoupling. They are slashing benefits to force people into any job they can find. They are deporting those who don't contribute. But you can't fix a 20-year structural failure in a single election cycle. The lesson for Money Matrix viewers is simple. Trust is an economic asset. When it's gone, the cost of doing business, the cost of living, goes to the moon. Sweden didn't fall because they were too nice. They fell because they stopped doing the math. Now, look at your own country. Look at your debt. Look at your social trust. Are you sure you aren't just 5 years behind Stockholm? That is the real Money Matrix. Mate, thanks for watching. Subscribe for more deep dives into the hidden machinery of the global economy. I'll see you in the next one.